It's that time again, time for my losers of the week. And as per usual, a lot of options, plentiful, and a vast array of morons, communists, and wokesters to choose from. Here are my selections in no particular order. Let's start with our president, Jean-Pierre. Wait, you haven't heard? She is apparently the president now, according to her own Twitter account. And damn, all this time Joe's been thinking Kamala was the president and it's been KJP all along. Wow, what a plot twist. Or perhaps the person that speaks for Joe Biden and Jean-Pierre sent out a tweet to the wrong account when he or she was attempting to gaslight the American people into thinking everything is going well with our economy. There you go, bingo. I'm still not sure who is in charge over there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but I do know it's not this guy. On to loser 2 this week, the actress who plays the new and not improved Snow White in the upcoming Disney remake of the classic film, Rachel Zegler. I don't really care that she's not white as snow, as the fairy tale would suggest. I care more about the fact that she's an insufferable woke brat who seemingly hates the character she's been casted to portray. Roll it.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
So at this point, Disney and Bud Light should just plan a joint funeral and get it over with. I'll send flowers. Furthermore, pretty much every film Disney has put out in the last year has been a remake. Little Mermaid, Haunted Mansion, and now this. Y'all really have no new ideas over there at Disney? You have to take classics from my childhood and woke them up and call it a new movie? Do better, Disney. Oh, on all fronts, do better. But speaking of weird characters that need to do better, my last loser, or should I say losers this week, are these, let's go with they-thems, who were protesting outside of a Let Women Speak event in Austin, Texas.
What do we want? Trans rights! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Trans rights! When do we want them? Now! What do we want? Trans rights! When do we want them? Now! What do we want? Trans rights! When do we want them? Now! What do we want? Trans rights! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Trans rights! When do we want it? Now!
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Why do all of these trans rights protesters look the same? Maybe there are normal, stable, bathed, and mildly attractive trans activists out there, but I have yet to see them. So in the words of Tiffany Gomes, I don't think they're real. But my losers of the week, they are real and real nauseating. Moving on now to the biggest news of this week and, well, every week, Trump indictment number 4. We're all frustrated. We all feel pretty helpless to do anything about it. But meanwhile, Joe and co over there are seemingly getting away with a massive pay-to-play scandal that enriched their family while putting America up for sale to the highest bidder. A two-tiered system of justice, no doubt. But what's the solution? And then there's that whole censorship thing, where Americans, including yours truly, are suppressed, reduced, and shadow banned on these supposedly free speech platforms. So not only is the fight unfair, but we can't even really talk about the fight or the unfairness without being kicked off of, well, everything. Feels like all we do on our side is cry, moan, and rage tweet, and that's about it. We want to make a change, but we feel hopeless. My next guest has been doing his damnedest to expose it all, drain the swamp, and fix this mess, but can it be done? God, I hope so. Joining me now, Congressman Jim Jordan. Congressman, do you ever sleep? Because I can't imagine you'd have any time to do such a thing with how busy you are.
We are busy, but no busier than you. We appreciate the work you're doing. And you're right. The Biden administration doesn't like you, Tommy. Go figure. Because they were coming after you. They even in the what we've called the Facebook files, they even were sending emails to Facebook saying, hey, can you change your algorithm to make sure everyone sees New York Times articles, but doesn't see you and Tucker and Daily Wire and all these other things. I mean, that's how egregious this was. And God bless the federal court down in Louisiana, the Western District of Louisiana, where we got that great decision on this is censorship. This is not the private sector making it. The coercion and the pressure from government is censorship. And they had 83 pages of fact in that great court opinion.
And I want to get to more on that in just a moment because there's a lot I want to talk to you. But first, I want to talk about some news of the day, and that's your pal, your buddy over there working hard with you, James Comer, now today asking the National Archives to release the unredacted emails from Joe's time as vice president because he was using pseudonyms, and I understand about 3 different ones at this point. I thought his only pseudonym was Brandon, but apparently there are more. So tell me about what this means and how maybe this will give us some new information we have yet to see?
Well, I think it just is more of the oversight's investigation into the business side of this. We now know from Mr. Archer's deposition a couple of weeks ago that the whole idea of having Hunter Biden as part of this operation was the brand, and the brand was the big guy was Joe Biden. So now they're looking, and we know that Joe Biden was dinners, phone calls, and meetings. All that took place, 30-some meetings with one of Hunter Biden's business partners, dinners with the wealthiest woman in Russia who gave $120 million to one of these 20-some different entities that the Bidens had set up, gave $3.5 million to the Biden, to Hunter Biden. So we know all those things took place. And now we want to find out more about the communications between President Biden and the folks he was emailing. So this is just part of that further of the business side of things. What we're going to do on the Judiciary Committee, we really want to talk to, if you remember when Mr. Shapley, the whistleblower, testified, he talked about this meeting on October 7th, 2022, where David Weiss is in the meeting, Mr. Shapley, the whistleblower, there were 5 other folks in the meeting. We want to talk to those 2 IRS people, 3 people from the Justice Department, Mr. Chairman Smith and I. We think those are those 5 people are people we want to talk to. So we're going to pursue that, I think, just as soon as we can.
Now, I know that this might be further on down the road, but I talked to my friend Kash Patel about this last week, and I said, there had to be, at least in some scope, the then president, Barack Obama, had to have known something about something. He put Joe in charge of Ukraine. We've got that famous video where he laughed about getting the prosecutor fired over in Ukraine. At what point do you guys call in President Barack Obama, ask him some questions? Is he ever going to have to answer for any of this? Because it's miraculous to me that he wouldn't know any of this took place with his own vice president.
Well, it is interesting because remember, let's take, for example, this Elena Baturina, the wealthiest lady in Russia. She actually sits down with a dinner with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and other people in the Biden business operation. And this dinner's in 2014. Now, and she's the one who spent paid $120 million to this one real estate venture they were involved in, $3.5 million to Hunter Biden. Why was she so interested in spending time with the vice president of the United States in 2014? What was going on in the big picture? Well, that just happened to be the spring of 2014 when Russia took Crimea. And you're wondering, was she concerned about possible sanctions coming against her? Was that the motive for this? And you're right. You think the whole State Department would know about this. The entire administration would know about this. So I do think we got to pursue this more. Mr. Comer, as you indicated, is looking at more of the emails. At some point, I think he's probably going to go after Hunter Biden's actual business records, his own business records, own bank records as well. But we want to do this in the logical, methodical fashion. And then the speaker has been clear, Tommy, that if we need to go to what's called an impeachment inquiry phase of our oversight, that we're going to do that. And I think the evidence is piling up so much now that we're probably going to get there. I think the speaker just wants to make sure it's done in the logical fashion that we're supposed to do our oversight under the Constitution.
And I understand that, and I know that you guys are doing it the right way. You're trying to make it, bulletproof, and I think that's the way you're going to have to go with everything stacked against you. But every day on Twitter when we talk about these things, I see so many of my fellow average Americans that say, listen, the Democrats are cutthroat. They want to imprison, the leading contender for the White House in 2024. And Republicans, God love you, but you guys do investigations, and we have, little tidbits here and there. You stack up the evidence, and then nothing happens. They feel like we get to this point where you guys present so much evidence where it is evident that there was foul play here, right, and then it feels like nothing happens. What do you tell those people that are so frustrated? They feel like the Democrats just go for the jugular and we always play nice.
No, it's frustrating. I always say the number one question I get, it seems like, is when is someone going to jail? When are some of these people who, meanwhile, as you said, they're coming after President Trump, 4 different indictments. It's just crazy. So I always remind folks, we're the legislative branch. All we can do is the oversight. We can do the investigations, we can get the facts on the table, we can propose legislation, and we can use the appropriations process to limit how your tax dollars, your listeners' tax, your viewers' tax dollars, how that is spent. We're gonna do all that, but we've done 60 some different depositions or transcribed interviews this Congress. We've done, I think I've issued more subpoenas than the rest of Congress combined. Not that that's the measure. The measure is what are you finding? And I would just say this, here's one win we got, and this only happened because Republicans are in control of the House of Representatives. You saw 3 weeks ago where the IRS announced they will no longer be making house calls, unannounced house calls on American citizens. And of course, Danny Warfel said that's because we're concerned about the safety of our agents. Bull roar. They changed that because we caught them when they were knocking on Matt Taibbi's door while he was testifying in front of our committee. And we dug into that and we found that they were looking at, before they went to knock on his door, they checked to see if he's a concealed carry holder. They looked at a bunch of different facts about this guy. So that's what we figured out in that investigation. That's why I'm convinced they changed it. So that's a positive change. Again, not enough. And we're going to keep doing our work.
When you talk off the record to your Democrat colleagues, you know, there's got to be some good folks over there that you work with. Did they say anything to you that any of this stuff with Biden bothers them, that the fourth witch hunt into Donald Trump bothers them? Is there any sense that they have a little buyer's remorse of the system that they helped create?
No, I mean, I think there are good Democrats around the country, but the left now controls the Democrat Party. And I don't see any of my colleagues, speaking out in the way you just described, Tommy. In fact, I think so many of them are just out to get President Trump. But, I just think the left has such a hold of, the Democrat Party today and where they want to take the country, what they're willing to do, what they're willing to, Fonnie Willis, Alvin Bragg, what they're willing to do. This indictment with 18 other people named is so ridiculous. That's who has control now of one of the two major political parties. And it's really sad. That's why it's so important for Republicans to stick together and fight in an aggressive fashion, but in a way that's consistent with the Constitution, but to stick together and do it. Because we know what the left is doing to us, how they've turned these agencies against we the people, and what they've done with these prosecutors in Fulton County and up in Manhattan. It's crazy. But no, I don't see anyone in Congress on the Democrat side agreeing with us, because I think maybe they're afraid of the left. I don't know, but I just know the hard left has control of that party.
Yeah, I would assume that there is some intimidation there. I don't have you for much longer, Congressman, so I have to get to this. My biggest question is, when is White House Digital Director Rob Flaherty, when is he going to be called to the carpet? Because this man has mentioned me in emails more times than my own family at this point. So I want to know, why is this gentleman still working for the White House, and what's going to happen to him?
He's left the White House, and we're trying to get him in for a deposition. So we are definitely pursuing that. We think it's important to talk to this guy. He was the one swearing at these tech companies, saying, when are you going to take this post down? When are you going to do this? Why don't you change your, on and on it goes. And remember, the White House I think it was 37 hours into the Biden administration, there's an email that comes from the White House to Twitter, and it says, can you take down this tweet ASAP? And the tweet is from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So think about it. Third day on the job, this administration is trying to censor their Democrat primary opponent, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And now, of course, they're trying to put their general election opponent, President Trump, they're trying to put him in prison. That's how ridiculous, how wrong this has all become. So, yeah, we want to talk to Mr. Flaherty, because he said all kinds of things that were in Schellenberger and Taibbi's language. I like what they said, that the censorship industrial complex, right. The White House working with big tech and big media to limit what Americans are allowed to say, to limit our First Amendment freedoms, and it's as wrong as it gets.
Well, Congressman, if you do talk to my buddy Rob Flaherty over there, I'm going to send you a signed headshot, because he seems to be the head of my fan club, and I think that he needs a Tomi Lahren photo to put on his wall or something, because the obsession is real. Congressman, thanks for spending so much time with me, and thanks for all you do.
You bet. Thank you.
God bless.